The Art of Sculpting Your Business podcast is sponsored by The Hive. The Hive is a small business resource center designed to support an innovative and entrepreneurial ecosystem in Virginia Beach. The Hive offers mentorship, networking, and a variety of fundamental resources to those who need them. The Hive, where businesses thrive.
Hello, and welcome to Series 2, Episode 3 of The Art of Sculpting Your Business, a series dedicated to highlighting resources, tools, and tips designed to drive innovation and growth. We are your hosts, Lavera Tolentino and Sheila Johnson. In today's episode, we will talk about the benefits of subcontracting. And our special guest today is Mr. Kip Washington, who is the president and owner of Refresh Global Cleaning.
And 4U Supplies.
And 4U Supplies. That's the number 4, the letter U, Supplies. Kip, thank you so much for joining us. And at this point, Sheila and I are going to go through a few things, ask you a couple of questions, and our hope is to get information out to entrepreneurs and small business owners who are looking to grow their business. So we're going to take a few minutes of your time and ask you a few questions. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Sheila, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, Mr. Washington, as Lavera said, thanks for joining us. Now, I have a question. My first question is, we all have a story. Can you tell us yours?
Well, let me see where I should start at.
Okay.
I guess the beginning would really set the tone. Well, my story a little bit, just to go a little bit in, is I started my business. My father used to be in the janitorial business. And when he was in the business, I used to work with him part-time. And I said I would never do janitorial at that time. But I remember one day I was cleaning a building and my father saw me duck into a room because I was ashamed of what he did. And I realized there was no shame in doing janitorial. There's no shame in anything that you do. So I ended up getting with the airlines, and the one thing I thought I would not do, I have a passionate love for doing it. So that's the story of that. But now my father has passed, and I wish that he could see that the one thing that he was famous at and really took pride at, that now his son is doing the same thing.
Well, we believe he can see that.
Mm-hmm. We do believe that.
Thank you.
So, you started this business, and Sheila, I'm sorry, I'm jumping right in here.
No, you know how we do.
Okay.
It's you, it's me.
Okay.
It's both of us.
As you started this business, Refresh and then Global Cleaning and then 4U Supplies, tell us a little bit about what challenges did you face when you started your business?
Well, there's several different challenges. First challenge is yourself. The challenge that you face on yourself, to not wanting to fail in something that you're not quite sure you can be successful in, even if you have some of that background. So that it's getting over that one thing, that one fear of failure, because there's no failure in trying something. The failure is not trying. So once I was able to get over that, the fear of doing the job was never there, because my father was always someone that believed in you give it your all. So that was the biggest thing, is getting over that of myself. I don't want to feel that I cannot do this, that I'm going to fail at this, and how would that make me look? But once I shook that off, I was like, no, I'm not going to fail. Each thing is a learning curve. What did I do wrong that time, so I won't do it wrong the next time? So that was the biggest challenge.
Okay, all right. So
I think that's huge, Lavera.
Yeah.
I think we talk to persons all the time that have great ideas, right? We've seen them have great ideas. But fear is that one thing that can stop you from achieving your dream.
Right.
And so thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Washington.
You're welcome. I was fear of you when you came in. I'm good now.
But it didn't stop you, right?
It didn't stop you.
No,
It didn't stop you.
absolutely
It didn't
not. I
stop you.
stayed in the chair.
You stayed in the chair, and we appreciate that, Mr. Washington, because we believe today you're not only going to drop some gems, but you're going to bless some people.
I appreciate it.
And what is
Sheila
that?
has that
The sheep.
The sheep what? The sheep what? Feed the sheep?
That's right.
You're gonna feed the sheep.
Feed the sheep. Absolutely.
right.
And,
Absolutely.
Sheila is very high energy, so
I noticed
sometimes,
that.
we got to kind of bring her down.
Absolutely. When she came in, I said, "Hold up, wait a minute."
Well, I'm glad you kind of toned her down a little bit, because we would be bouncing off the wall right now if you had not. But tell us a little bit about Refresh Global Cleaning, like your mission and your vision for the and For You Supplies. What is your mission and vision for those companies?
Well, to build a professional business that's really focused on the customer. I think that's important in any business, because when you build that business like that, you're going to make sure you hire the right people that line up with that. A lot of times we, and I include myself, you get in a situation where, I need people. Mm-hmm. But all you're getting is a body.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You need to make sure you have what I call the 10 points that you go over. And that's 10 items that you have when you're interviewing your potential employees. And you have a grade that said this is what that grade needs to be in order for that to be who you want in your organization. It may take longer to get the right people, but you have to keep that focus, because why hire somebody who doesn't like to clean? So you got a body, but that's not what they do. Mm-hmm. They have to have that love. Mm-hmm. It may not be at the level you are, but they have to have that love for that particular job.
Right, right. And so when you say that, why hire somebody who doesn't want to clean? Tell us a little bit about your leadership style. What is it? How do you, when you bring in your employees, you got your 10 points or 10 mm-hmm. questions, you mm-hmm. ask them, you bring them in. And then what's that leadership like?
Well, first of all, once they go through the 10-point process, that's done by HR. Okay. The last step before they're actually hired, they meet me. And the reason why I like that, because I try to look deeper in the person. Okay. To see who they really are. And mm-hmm. that's another thing that sometimes we miss out on. What is really driving them to be what they want to be. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's driven because maybe that is what they love, but they got things at home. They got a family, and they're trying to take care of her. Mm-hmm. And they may have gone through some things in life. Mm-hmm. Then you may be wondering why I'm saying all those things, because once you can tap into the real reason a person does something, sometimes you ignite them in ways that you never even thought you could. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of companies don't take that time to learn the person. Learning the person changes the environment of everything. So I try to make sure I'm that last person, because then that's going to make a decision if we connect. Mm-hmm. And if we connect, what I found out a lot of times, that's when you have retention and you say people, it's like, I don't want to go anywhere. It's not all about the money. I'm a part of something that's making a difference.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so important, Lavera. You remember we had a podcast discussion before with a former guest, mm-hmm. and we were talking about how important it is to identify the individual, what their needs are, right, and what is that part of them that you can connect to, mm-hmm. to make them feel as if they belong in space. Right.
Absolutely.
And as a small business owner, you want to make sure you have the right people in place, because it's about customer service. At the end of the day, you got to provide that customer with that great, exceptional service.
And it's your brand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
It is your brand. So, Sheila, you want to take, you got anything you want to add?
I guess my next question is really, Mr. Washington, what are your thoughts about subcontracting? How has your company benefited from subcontracting? Those are really two questions.
Okay. You sure?
Yes. Just two. I'm going to go with two.
I tell you, it's been a blessing. When you start in this industry, it's all about getting your name out there. And that's not going to happen unless you connect with some companies that are larger than who you are. that are willing to bring you in because of sometimes maybe you have a contract with a small, which I had with some banks that they heard about me and they were like, okay, let's interview this gentleman, let's see what he has to offer. They gave me that opportunity, and when they did, I was able to show them how professional we were and how we really cared about what we did. We were passionate about that. So that opened doors for me to constantly grow. Every year we grow between 40 to 45% each year I was in business. Now we have over 225 employees.
Wow.
2 cleaning companies, 4 use supplies, and soon we'll be starting our own landscaping. But nothing comes overnight. Again, at the beginning, I was saying you have to be willing to put in the work. You got to understand that you're going to have some hard times. You're going to have some sleepless nights. There are going to be times that no one in your family or anyone will understand what you're going through, and you will feel alone. But you're not alone. You just got to go through that. You got to shake it off and just keep moving because it's not about where you are today. It's where you're trying to go to tomorrow.
Well, Mr. Washington, I think that's powerful. You need to put that on a book or a card or something like that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what he's really saying at this particular point, there is no substitute for hard work.
That's right.
And there is no substitute for, reaching your vision. You're just going to have to move forward and believe that you're going to be able to make it.
Yeah, and so when you talk about this, I kind of jotted down some things. 2 cleaning businesses, 1 cleaning supply company.
Yes.
And you're about to start a landscaping company.
Yes.
And also, he said year-over-year growth, 40 to 45%.
Yes.
Is that with each
Not
of these?
every
or is
business
that
can
what,
say that.
With the 2 cleaning companies. The
Okay.
4 use supplies has been around for 3.5, but we are now focused that we're going to do 2023. We're going to make it happen. And that's just me, myself, and the rest of the team getting more involved, sitting down and coming up with a plan that says this is how we're going to attack this.
Is your team, what is your team like? Tell me, who's on your team?
Well, of course, you have HR, finances on the team, and then we have one of the sales reps that's out there for 4 units on the team. We have the admin that's inside. Actually, it's everybody that's a part of what we're trying to achieve because no one person has the answer to everything. But if you sit down collectively, you'll be surprised what you can do. So I always try to involve everyone. My father used to say, a baby can give you an answer to something that maybe you don't expect it to be the right answer.
Right.
So I've always been that way. So being a leader is to also understand that you only lead by the help of your people. A true leader realizes you need them involved into what you're trying to achieve. If you lead them out, guess what? You're not going to be successful for very long.
Yeah. And we had a conversation. Again, we talk about the children providing guidance, and sometimes they can provide you with an answer that you probably never thought of, or a suggestion or recommendation. So involving your whole team in developing and growing your company to me, is great leadership. And it's helped your company obviously grow over the years. So now, how long has Refresh and Global been in business?
Well, Refresh been in business about 21 years. Global, probably near 18.
Okay.
I started, Refresh was the first one, and I'll tell you just a little bit. I had a gentleman, Caucasian guy, I call him my white brother, but he was there for me at the time when banks would even help me financially. Even though I was cleaning 150 banks.
Wow.
Those banks that I was cleaning, I needed help. But, there was always a ram in the bush, and he was that ram that for 5 years, he was that anchor that said, hey, you get more contracts, I got you. And never at any time that I feel anything less than that. I'll make it short. When I was riding around an old van that he was like, you cannot ride around that van, your owner. I was like, why? What's wrong with my van? He was like, I said,
was this
it's
like
riding.
the Scooby-Doo van?
Actually, it was. The cushion on the side was sort of out. So I was driving. I was leaning to the side. I thought I was cool.
Mr. Washington.
But you were leaning because
I was leaning because of the cushion.
When you said the van, my uncle back in the day had a white van and he had curtains in it and stuff. We thought we were.
Oh, that was back in the day with the little bed they put in the
yeah,
back
I
there.
mean, everything.
The cooler and
So
everything.
Was
in there.
it that van?
No, it was that van. This one didn't even have heat in it. But I tell you, the story was, and it's a very interesting story. But it says, I think it's powerful. The little part of it. So we went down. He went online and he saw you can get a coupon for $5,000 for coming in to drive the vehicle, and then they gave you another rebate.
Wait a minute. What place is this?
No, that's serious.
That's going to give you a coupon for $5,000.
I'm serious. It was online, and then they gave you another rebate when you came in there, and he got all this stuff. And he was an older man. So I'll never forget it. We went down to the dealership, and he said, how much you want to spend on the truck? Dodge Ram. I'm a Ram man. Right. And I was like, I don't know. How do I know? He was like,
young,
well, it's your company. You tell me. But understand now, I didn't have the capital.
Right.
And I was like, he said, do you want to pay monthly or you just want to pay cash? I was like, pay cash. He said, okay. So long story short, the guy comes out, the seller come out, and he goes to him.
Right.
And it just took my esteem down. But what he did, he flipped the script. He was like, why are you coming to me?
Right.
You need to go to him. I'm working for him. And I just couldn't believe that he did that.
But that's a good friend.
Oh, no doubt. So
and that was a blessing, too.
So I'm almost finished. So the guy says, this is how much it's going to cost. He tell him everything we got. And I said, I'll give you this much for the truck. He was like, oh, we're not going to sell that truck for that. I was like, cash. He was like, well, my boss is not going to do that. I said, ask him. Mm-hmm. So he came back out, and my boss said, if you have the cash, in 2 days we'll do it. I was like, I can write the check today.
Oh, wow.
So it was just that thing. But after 5 years, he owned like 20% of the business. I paid him out of the business, but he taught me many things.
Right.
That. And that's what I try to get back. Teach one, help one to teach one. Right. So if we all do that, we all can achieve this common goal of being successful in whatever we do, just like what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Mr. Washington. Was your dad alive then?
Yes. My dad was alive. My dad came from the old school.
Right.
He was one that he did well in what he did, but he also was one that stay here. This is where it's comfortable at.
Right.
And I was never.
And he was born in a time.
Absolutely.
Where I can say my big mom and they were born in a time where they couldn't see those things.
Absolutely. But I was always the child that did things. I was riding a motorcycle, and they were like, my aunt would say, wait a minute. Seriously?
Did you say you were riding a motorcycle, but when you came in, you had to tell me to calm down?
I had to tell you that,
I never rode a motorcycle.
Because you were coming in trying to take charge. And I said, hold up now. Hold up.
Mr. Washington.
But he was that type of father. But he...
Protector.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was that. But I was always that outgoing person. So I was, I can do it. So I'm riding a motorcycle with no license, but I'm all in Hampton.
Lord.
And
everything.
Wow.
But I was always that.
Right.
So my father never expected really anything different than me. When we really had a serious conversation of who I was, it was deep because I love my brother to death. We're so tight now, it's incredible.
Right.
But I always felt that my father was closer to my brother.
Right.
But it wasn't that.
Right.
My mother and I were tight. It's just they had that same type of personality. Right. But when I told my father, like, Dad, do you love me? He was like, of course I love you. I was like, wow, it was deep.
But he probably admired your free spirit.
Yeah. But this is what he said at the end.
But he couldn't communicate.
Well, let me tell you, this is what he said, and this is funny. He was like, well, let me say this. If something would happen to your mother, guess who I'm going to live with? You. I was like, huh?
What?
I was like, all right, I almost did the holy day.
That is
But I'm grateful and I'm thankful because without him, I definitely would not be where I'm at today. So
Did he see, like when you purchased the van, what
Yes.
was your
You mean the
dad's
truck?
response?
The truck.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
the truck.
came
He went from the
outside.
van
and-
to the truck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
okay.
came outside, and I actually drove him to Westbourne, it's a little town outside of New Kent. And,
Right.
and he was like, "This is nice," and he looked at it and was like, "This is nice," and he went and got my mom and said, "This is nice." So I know he was happy.
Yes.
So when he passed away, it's been 5 years now, but I actually went down on the 3rd of January. It was his birthday. And I said, "Dad, I did it. Thank you."
Oh, that's sweet.
So,
That's deep.
yeah.
Yes.
So you know and you know, I know you we all know you have contracts with the city.
Yes.
You do. And so how did you start with getting those contracts with the city? What was your plan?
Well, the same company that gave me the opportunity with them earlier doing banks, they were also, at that time, was another gentleman that was like, I wanted to give Kip refresher opportunity with one of the city contracts. Let's see how they do. And at that time, the person in charge of that particular building, she was rough. But it was great because it couldn't have been a better person to put my stamp
That's
in
right.
the city. And she went through some things. I went through a maintenance week, and she came back, no complaints, nothing. It was just smooth. Everything just went fantastic. So from there, it just started growing and growing. The city contracts are wonderful contracts to have. They're wonderful people, but the expectations are high, and I like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the expectations are very high. Very
Absolutely.
high. And so you were subcontracting, and then because I heard the story, I know the story, but I want our listeners to hear the story. You were a subcontractor
Yes.
on several city contracts.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, I heard about you. I was like, I was getting this thing, there's this contractor out there. He's janitorial company.
Kip Washington.
Yeah. And
It's Kip Washington.
Yeah. And
That
he's
Kip.
got this.
Yeah.
Who's that
business.
Who's Chef?
You got that right. I'm not messing with y'all. Yes, ma'am.
So I heard about you, and so it came up again that the contracts, because every so often we rebid our contracts, and so, but this time around it was a little different because somebody that had been a subcontractor actually submitted a bid to be the prime. And what happened?
It was Kip Washington.
Well, what happened was that's when I had already started Global Cleaning Services, and I decided it was time for me to get from under that umbrella. And the only way to do that, and that goes back to the gentleman that I said helped me before.
Right.
He was a millionaire, but he took the time to train me and teach me some things that if he hadn't have done that, I would have never understood that.
Right.
So it was time for me to start a new company, which I did. And then I started having dealerships and then all those things on the global. So when the opportunity came, I was like, okay, this is not connected to that. Now it's time for us to leap out on the faith, the hard work we've done, and stand on our own 2 feet. And so that's when I started bidding on contracts on my own. Because I was already blessed to have the name of who I was. So
Right.
it wasn't that people didn't know who I was. It was like, global, is that?
Kip Washington.
Kip Washington. That's all I kept hearing was global and refresh.
Kip Washington.
How did you learn to, one of the things, how did you learn to do the pricing piece, to spec it out and to bid? How did you learn to do that?
Well, I also had some help from people who knew how to do that. And what I learned from that, you keep those things. You keep them. So if you're doing the contracts with the city contracts, you might have to change some of the verbiage in there, but the template is similar. So those where you can go back to and look at to make the adjustments they need to make on that. So that's how I learned from someone teaching me that, taking the time to show me that, and getting me to learn pricing. Now, I would say with pricing, I angled it a little bit different. Sometimes they go with square footage and they determine that should be this, and how somebody should be able to do X, Y, Z because of what the computer says. It was something I said years back, and they was like, well, Mr. Washington, how you feel about that? And I was like, I don't truly agree that a computer can decide everything, because everybody works at a different pace. So I can't say that you could clean that building in XYZ amount of time, because maybe you cannot do it. Maybe your age or whatever you're dealing with, you're not that fast of a person.
What you trying to say?
No. What I'm saying is that
because my age?
No, what I'm saying,
I'm just not fast?
Well, what I'm saying is that you have to look.
What you saying?
You have to consider everybody works at a different pace.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So you cannot say that because the computer said this. It's just saying what should be able to be achieved in that time
this amount of time.
So then what I take from that is I tweak that and say, nah, this is what I feel is the right price to do the job.
Right.
And thankfully, I've been able to do that and keep the contracts, because once it's out there and you say, I can do it for this,
that's the expectation.
That's it.
then that's it.
That's it.
You mess up, you can't go back and say, I need more.
Right.
Because it's your, as a professional, to know exactly what your need is. It's easier to go and they say, hey, is that your final offer? And look at it. And if it's not, that you know that you cannot do that less than that, don't change it. You got to feel confident within yourself.
Say that again, Mr. Washington, because I think a lot of people, a lot of companies made that mistake because they want the business so bad and they're unable to perform. So repeat that. Know your stuff, first of all.
Know your stuff, and you got to feel confident that that price you're giving is the price that you know you can do that job professionally.
Right.
And if you can't, walking away is not a bad thing.
Good.
I've walked away from contracts that looked so big, the money looked so good, but when I got down and I started adding up, and insurance, and this is what I got to pay out, and this is supplies, and then I looked and say, it's not worth it.
Not worth it. Yeah.
And walking away doesn't mean you're walking away for something else. That just means that it's not going to give you what you need to survive, because it's all about survival.
Right.
And once your name get out there bad, it is hard.
Oh, yes.
You painted that picture, now you got to try to erase it. Why not paint it right?
Because it'll turn from Kip Washington to
Absolutely.
Kip Washington.
Now, I want to comment on that, because when you say that, I listen to that. And once you get that name, it's hard.
It's hard.
Because once you build that, you got to realize that people are constantly watching you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not that you're not human. It's just that name is like, okay, this is what we expect from them.
Right.
But what I tell my staff and my management team, the way you keep that, because you're a human, you're going to make mistakes. But that's when you have to have integrity.
Yes.
That's when people have to trust you in your word. If we do something wrong, and I know it's wrong, I will go and say, we messed up.
That's right.
We're going to make it right.
That's right.
That's what it's all about. That's stronger than anything you could ever do. Have that, and you will be successful if you have those things that a lot of times are hard to find.
And I will have you know that I can clean, okay?
You sure?
And I can do it quick and a good job.
I believe you. I believe you. I didn't say that you couldn't clean.
Might take her a week to clean that building, but she gonna do it.
We're going to add a couple more hours to this thing.
But she gonna do it.
I will get it done now. It might be next week.
You've been holding that. You're like, I'm going to let him finish.
I said, that's what I said. I'm going to let him finish, but I'm going to let him know.
Right.
But there's something else that I hadn't mentioned that I think is important when we are hiring people. Never judge a book by its cover. Open the book and read it.
Yes.
The cover doesn't say everything. So I was blessed to hire some people that were homeless that were actually written off. And I was like, you sure you want a job? Yes, I do. You sure? Well, here's what I need you to do. Be here tomorrow at this time, shaved, and I need you to look like this. And Next day they came back, just like I asked them. I say, do you have this problem? Do you have this problem? I need your the ID. Had all the ID and everything they need. We did the background. Everything was fine. I said, and again, about sitting down and talking to a person to find out what happened.
What was their story? Yeah.
Because everybody has one.
Right.
And when I listen to the story, that's another thing. Listen can tell you a lot.
Right.
Listen. Sometimes we interrupt. We miss out on the main ingredients. So I listened. I was like, wow. one of them went through a bad situation that caused them to feel that they just lost everything.
Oh, my God.
So they didn't feel that there was anything worth living for.
Right.
So now they became homeless because they could deal with that.
Yeah.
So me giving them an opportunity right now, they're in a place, they dress nice. You would never believe that that person was homeless. And the part that made me cry when they came to me and told their friends,
Oh, my God.
this is the man who changed my life.
Oh, wow.
But I said, no, I'm the vessel that God used to help you.
Well,
make
that's
that
the
change.
feed my sheep.
That's the feed my sheep.
Well, here's the thing. We've been saying feed my sheep through this. Most people don't know we had a conversation before. Mr. Washington, can you just share with us a little bit about feed my sheep?
Well, about 4 years ago, as God started blessing me, he told me I needed to feed his sheep. And I was like, Lord, what do you mean? And then it's different ways that you feed the sheep. Not always by money, but by sometimes just by conversation. Or sometimes giving a better direction. And it could be or feeding them or whatever, some food or whatever it is. So I kept doing that. And I got a little frustrated because what was happening, I thought it would be all these people, whatever, that I'll be able to help, and that would say, okay, Lord, look at me, I'm doing that. But it doesn't quite work that way. It would just be a couple of people, and I got frustrated again, like, Lord, I'm doing everything you asked me to do, I just don't want to do this no more. And Denzel, his last name is Washington.
Your cousin.
He's an inspirational speaker among other people, but I do like how he speaks. So one day, it popped up on my phone, and he was talking about his mother, and she was telling him the things that he had done, and now he needed to do it the right way. Through his conversation, he said God told him to feed his sheep. So it was confirmation from God saying to me, continue the direction that I've asked you to go. It may not touch everybody, but I already know so. Right. You just keep doing that because your blessings come through you doing what I asked you to do, being obedient. So I do that. All my company is tied to the church. Right. We do things in the community. We have gone every Christmas. We feed the homeless at one of the homeless shelter. We do that. And now we're about to do the food bank. We have boxes in the office. We're going to do that. This year, I'm going to do one thing I've been wanting to do forever. And I'm going to need your help. I want to somehow have a location where we can actually feed the homeless. Where my company can get the food, the turkeys, and we can feed them. And
like
I
a sit down.
Absolutely. I've always wanted to do that because it's been on my mind for the last 3 years, and I was like, I got to do that this year. Because no one knows when it's time to go.
Right.
And if that happens, I want to feel like I fulfill some of the things that I felt that God wanted me to do.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was like one of the questions we had for you. You know, as a an entrepreneur, small business owner, you've got 3 businesses with a 4th one on the way.
Actually, 4 businesses.
4 businesses.
I have my own. We have properties that we rent also. I have 2 properties I rent to some of my employees now. So we have properties also. We have 3 houses. We have 2 condos. Now we're working on another property. So I have 2 that I rent with employees. One is moving in this weekend. One of my
it's like
supervisors.
affordable, like affordable home.
So wait, are these properties just for your employees?
No, they're houses that.
Because I was going to say I'm going to need a job.
No, it's houses that the company has purchased. It started off with my mother's home because my father passed away.
Okay.
That we were able to purchase, and we own it. So it's not where I got to regulate what that needs to be. But we still go through your background and all that.
Right.
And if you fulfill those obligations, we do that. So a couple of properties this weekend, I got a supervisor that her and her son are moving in. And they have been looking and looking. And that's what I'm saying that
But
you
it's
don't know
hard
what
to find because affordable housing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mr.
Not only
Washington.
that, the good thing is we own them.
Right.
And it's hard because sometimes people background, they have bad credit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, criminal backgrounds, just bad credit things that people
Impede
still.
them. Yeah.
Right. So because they work for me, and it's not people just work for me, like I said,
Right.
I was able to say, hey, you know what? I got a place. You want to look at it? And they had been looking for months.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, your son and you, ride with me, and I'll have you check it out. It's in Newport News. Right, you can ask her to get on the deck, and you see the water.
Oh, wow.
And they went there, and her son and her said, wow, Mr. Washington.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. Now, to go back to what I was talking about, learning your people. She
Yes.
was going through some things. I took the time to listen to her. And I realized what her motivation, why she was going down at work and not being motivated, because she wanted to move out of her environment.
Right.
Now she's like, she called me, come here, Mr. Washington, I got the money. But here's where you got to listen to God, and I'm serious about this. God said, reduce the rate.
Right.
Bring it down. And I did. Whenever I listen, and I have to say him because he's the most important thing in my life.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I do what he says, see, that's when the blessings happen. When you if you take your fist and close it up, you can't get anything in it.
Right.
But when you open it up, you can receive many things.
Yeah.
But God said, don't close it. Because when you open it, I can feel your hand to the part where it overflows.
Right. You're right.
And he'll keep blessing you and blessing you and blessing you. But
And
don't
as you
forget-
bless other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all.
But I
gotta
tell you
continue.
what, Mr. Washington, about that story you just told, we know that there are so many young men that don't have guidance or direction. Not only did you bless his mother, but you blessed that child so that that child would understand that he has value and that there are great people out in the world that are looking out for him. That's the blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then hopefully he'll take that and be able to bless
Oh,
someone
yeah.
in the future. So it's just like go from one person to the next. And so, I was going to ask you, you own these businesses, and then I was going to ask about the community. What are your thoughts on giving back, and how has your company given back? But you've already
Answered that.
Yeah, the food bank and helping folks that are homeless get back on their feet.
Are you guys going to help me with the feeding the homeless?
Yes, I'm
Well-
going to provide the entertainment.
Oh, no, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. It's over.
Me and you, Mr. Washington.
So-
Mr. Washington.
So, I mean, all of us, like, I love doing my part in the community, providing
Yes.
community service. So if there is something that we can help you with that, definitely, we will
Yes.
definitely try. So you want to do like a Thanksgiving kind of thing, or you just want to do it like any time during the year? Or
Well, I think that Thanksgiving has something to it. I just think the more people involved in it, the better it could be. Just coming here, I saw a homeless lady, and it just like, wow, man, it just does something to me, because it's
Yeah.
like, what can we do more?
Right.
And that's why I think we'll be held accountable to. If you get blessed and you don't bless others, were you really blessed?
yeah.
So we just gotta look at that. You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if there's something we can do, we'll definitely participate. Cool. I'm not a great cook.
We don't want you to cook anything.
We didn't ask you to cook.
You just
We'll
hand out the napkins.
No, I'm not asking them to cook. I would
Have a cater.
Yes, but we would serve the
Oh,
food.
yeah.
Okay, I could do
I'm
that.
a great server.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
I could do that.
Because
Yeah.
remember now, don't look at the cover of the book. There's a lot of homeless people who are very intelligent and very smart.
Oh, absolutely.
absolutely.
They just had something to trigger what they're going through.
And it could have been any of us.
Oh,
Absolutely.
the other thing is I'm a great greeter, so I could.
Now I can see you doing that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's
So-
it. Wherever you have it at, I'm gonna say you greet him when
I'm
you come
the
to the door.
greeter. I'm the
I believe
greeter.
it.
I'm
I
the
believe
Hi,
that. I believe
welcome.
Yes.
Oh, well, what's my job?
Yes. Oh,
that. You stay on the mic.
Okay. My mic sounds nice. Check one. Okay.
Look, I can sing a little bit too. I
What?
can tell y'all that. That's right. Blow a little bit.
What?
I ain't doing that, but I can't in the church. I can't. But no. I look. First of all, I just want to say thank you just for taking the
A
time.
man of many talents,
No. It's only
many
most
gifts,
blessings.
blessings.
So this is where we come in and we kind of recap it. Okay. So we really thank you for taking time out of your busy day, because we know you are busy. only got 25 businesses out there. So we really thank
and
you.
plus, you got one more coming.
Yeah, we thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come and, hopefully inspire a small business owner, entrepreneur, even, in this case, maybe someone who's looking for a job and, and that's interested in working for your company. And so, it's just good to hear such greatness coming out of you. And it's not all about the money. It's about helping people,
Wisdom.
And you're talking about getting over the fear of failure, and learning and being customer focused because it's your name, it's your brand, and learning from your employees, learning about them and sitting them at the table and having them be a part of something bigger. And in order for your company to grow. And give me those 10 questions too, them 10 points. Let me have a hold of those.
You have to call HR.
No. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I can do that. But learning your employees is vital to anything because they have to feel that they're part of what you achieve.
Yeah.
And then you need to reward and recognize that also. We constantly get at them as something that's not right. But how many times do you talk to them when they do right? So it's just important to do that. So, and when you can be down there with them, it really gives you that ability to learn them.
Right.
You can't learn them if I'm not with you. Yeah. I'm not beside you. I'm not listening to you.
They
I'm
can
not
talk about relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all that. So
Yeah. And so your business is in Virginia Beach, right?
Yes, it is.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
I got one thing I wanted to mention that I believe is the foundation of everything. One of the things that Mr. Washington said when he first sat down was, my father believed that anything that you do, give your all. And I will tell you, you have given your all. And we appreciate you for being an example, for serving the community, really, it just takes me back to what you did for that mother and that child. And I know that's not the only one, but I will tell you that will continue to impact his life
forever.
Beyond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing.
You will be that one that, was the pivot.
Thank you.
And so I appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, giving his all and constantly giving his all. So we appreciate you. You're in Virginia Beach.
Yes.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you for whatever reason, how can they reach you?
They can go to our email, which is office@globalrefreshlife.com.
Okay. globalrefreshlife.com.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess we're going to, close it out. This has been powerful, This has been one of those teachable moments where you kind of, who would have thought today I would be agreeing to do some more community service? And so you got me here.
Greeting.
Well,
that's important, though, Lavera, because you're the first one that they'll see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But we appreciate you being honest and saying, I can't cook.
I can't cook.
Thank God, because we're not trying to mess up Mr. Washington's
But just
brain.
think how powerful it could be when all different companies, it don't have to be cleaning, just envision us coming together, different companies to feed the homeless and those who need.
Yes.
And they're not looked upon as being homeless.
Right.
Oh, that's the thing.
They're a person.
To feed and shelter,
Absolutely.
the homeless.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
they're a person. There's times I ride down the street and then God say, give that person something. What in my mind may say they're using that money for, I'm judging them without knowing.
That's right.
And I just do it. And then what I've had happen, I go to get in the line to get something to eat, and the lady said, the person in front of you just paid for that.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
So you just don't know.
Yes.
Your blessing from doing what's right could be that accident that somebody had really could have been for you.
That's right.
But God did not allow that to happen. And I mention God a lot now in my life because he is the center of my life.
So thank you, Mr. Washington, for joining us for this episode of The Art of Sculpting Your Business. And I want to tell our audience, if you have a question regarding this week's episode, please send it to artofbiz@vbgov.com. That's artofbiz@vbgov.com. And be sure to include your name, as we may share it on an upcoming episode. Sheila?
Yes, next week we'll continue our conversation. Our special guest will be Dr. Rhonda Alexander, Executive Advisor of the NSU Innovation Center. The topic, Business Planning with NSU Innovation Center. Thank you to our sponsor, the Virginia Beach Hive, where businesses thrive.